Hello and welcome to the Bear Right Trail podcast. I am your host, Sam Kirk, here tonight with a little bit of a panel of people, but one very special guest. So, of course, my teammates here, Joshua Finger and Chris Lures, and our guest tonight is fresh off of a wonderful 24-hour run at Western States 100. He has been racing prolifically for years now. Roots here in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, as well as racing all across the country. Results at 100-mile races, 10-mile races, all kinds of races. A very impressive win at the Laurel Highlands 70.5, although I am aware in that year it was much, much more. And something like 60 or 70 results on Ultra sign up to his name. I'm guessing that might be the tip of the iceberg. But welcome, Derek Schultz.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Congratulations on that big finish out at Western States.
Thank you.
And I've got one of your oldest competitors here tonight, Joshua Finger. Josh, how are you feeling today?
I'm surviving, dealing with the PA heat. You bring up a sore subject with the Laurel Highlands win that being that I took second there to him. So, but it's great having Derek on. When Sam told me Derek was coming on, I was like, I have to be there because I've known Derek since I entered the sport. I think he entered 6 months before me or something like that. And he's always been one that I've, tried to compare myself to, try to look up to in the sport. So it's great having Derek.
Awesome.
Yeah, Derek, it's great to have you on. You've been mentioned, a number of times in the already the sort of infancy of our podcast here, but you've been mentioned several times. I've known you since the late 20 teens, where I think you were probably the first guy that told me and then maybe showed me as you're running away from me how to run downhill effectively. I still haven't exactly mastered that, but I got a taste of your downhill running prowess at a couple races. So it's awesome to have you on, man. Super excited to chat a little bit, obviously, about your Western States finish and then just your time in the sport. So thanks for taking some time.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, Derek. So I think, both Josh and Chris, and I'm sure many others, consider you to be part of the East Coast trail running royalty and the OG or one of the OGs of East Coast trail running. And I wanted to just get a little bit of insight as to, what got you started in this sport. You started into it well before it was the kind of popular movement that it is now. And so I just would love to hear about what got you into it and kind of the nexus of your trail running journey.
All right. I started running back in 2006 at Brian's Run 5K in Westchester. And it was a friend of mine, John Clark, who we used to mountain bike Marsh Creek all the time. Not with like legit mountain bikes or legit clothes, but it got too cold and he said, well, let's try running and we can do a 5K. And I was like, well, what's the distance of a 5K? And he says, don't worry, it's fine. So that was my first experience running, and I was hooked after that. And that grew to, like the 5 miles, and then Broad Street 10 mile, and then trying a half, and eventually fulls, and then fitting in some trail races locally from, up in Reading or nearby. And then it was meeting Alex Barth, who he was the one I shadowed for getting into ultras. So it was his introduction in, I think it was 2009, maybe it was 2008 that we met up. And then the fall of 2009 is when I started running ultras. That was at Blues Cruise.
Okay, yeah.
Back when that was a out and back. And it was a last-minute sign-up as a training run because there was an aid station every 2.5 miles or so. Easy first ultra. Weather was and had a really good race and finished second to Mike Clariglito and was hooked then on trying to do ultras. So instantly went into doing too many ultras and fit in 42 races the following year in 2010 and ended up being injured for 2 months.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was my first major injury in setback.
Wow.
But during that 2010, I shadowed Alex. Wherever he went, I went. So I didn't know of any of these races, like Laurel Highlands. He said to me that he was going to be going out for 77 miler in 2010. So I signed up for the 50. So did Josh. And so we battled that day too. But that was my first introduction into the West Coast PA trails.
Yeah.
Which were totally different which were totally different than, French Creek and Marsh Creek. So I was not used to mountains like that. So I really enjoyed, especially that 7 climb. That was something we don't have around here. And I was hooked on doing bigger stuff. And so by the end of that year, I think that was the year that they started the 12-hour run at Labor Pains. Did you do that year, Josh?
I probably did it as a training run. I think you went 70 miles. Did you win it, or was James Blanford?
I finished second to Ryan. Forget Ryan's last name. Blanford finished third. But it was my first time going over K distance. I wanted more. And
so I remember, the first introduction I had with you, it was the day after Hat 50K. You ran a Hat in 2010, and I think you ran. I have it written down. I think it was like sixth at Hat in like 4:28.
Okay.
And then Cesar Rodney half marathon was the next day.
Oh yeah.
And so I was a road runner at that time. I was not a trail runner. So I was running the road race. I ran 118 something for the half, which is a pretty hilly half. And Derek coming, fresh off of 50K, had run 121 or 122.
Wow.
After a 50K, the next day running a 122 at 6:30 pace on hilly terrain was just gangbusters to me. It was insane. And I was like, who is this guy? And he became famous, at least to me, as because I think you like to collapse at finish lines and stuff like that. And I forget who you were with at that
race.
Dan Dix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I got introduced, I think, originally to ultras, because I hadn't run one yet. And you had told me you ran the 50K the day before. I was like, what? And then Laurel Highlands, I signed up for. So it was that was one of the instigating factors for me to.
But so at that point, I was still trying to balance running ultras and trails and road races. So I was doing both. So weekends were full.
Yeah, it's how you get to 42 races in a calendar year.
Yes.
And I'm guessing at the time, maybe there were a couple of weekends that, didn't have a race, so you'd have to fill up the other ones.
No.
Well,
I know.
Not many.
If you were down for 2 months, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you got 42 races in, that you had to be racing some, decent amount of twice a weekends.
That might have been the year that I did 3 races in 3 different states in 2 days.
Whoa!
All short distance.
You got to tell us that story.
So I did. I'm going to forget the name of it. It's an 8K out in Jersey, and some super fast guys show up to that one. So I sprinted that 8K and sprinted directly to my car, and then drove as fast as I could to Wissahickon to run the Wissahickon 10K. And I'm walking up to the start line.
That same day.
The same day. I forget how far apart they were, but it was just enough if I ran fast.
Oh, man.
But I'm walking up to the start line, and they had already started. And Ron, the timer, He says, get going. So I just bolt. I'm carrying my number. I'm carrying a plastic water bottle, and I just start running. Never been on my bib number. You're starting from the back. And so I'm passing everybody on that first climb as much as I can, just keep passing it. Then there's like some kid puking because it's so hot that day. So I give him my water bottle. I'm like, well, you need more than I. So I just keep going. Get what my time was, but I think I finished 50th overall. So
wow.
Starting 2.5 minutes, shoot, 50th overall. And then the next day, there was a 15K trail race, River something that only ran 1 year. It was down in Delaware, at that state park. I forget the name of it. Right across the border.
Okay.
But they wouldn't start the race until 10 o'clock, and it was already in the 90s. So it was too hot. But it was the first time I showed up, and I was starting to get competitive. So I showed up, and I was like, I don't recognize a single soul here. Mm-hmm. This might be my shot. Who knows? And then I see my friend Enos Benbow. He's a Jamaican. So if you don't know who Enos is, he's a road runner. He does some trail. But he looks like the Predator with a 12-pack.
Okay.
He had his shirt off. And I was like, well, second place is going to be okay. So that's when I met Enos, and we used to run all the time together. And he was a great addition to training because he had such a strong, solid pace. Didn't even have to use a watch. He was just solid.
Wow.
That was 3 races, 3 states, 2 days.
Amazing.
So yes, Derek, it sounds like you got hooked real hard, real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fisherman's dream.
Now, this is going back 2010. This is before kids, before a wife, before any of that. So I could do it whatever, whenever, it did not matter. So it was a lot easier back then.
Right. Yeah, that's
also,
go ahead.
Also, right for another running room, so you could sign up for Laurel Highlands still at that point. Whenever you signed up, Josh, I think you could sign up just weeks before that race.
Yeah,
for the
I think
50K.
that was fairly quickly. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. Now you have to sign up as soon as it opens.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. Your intro, going back to the Blues Cruise second place, Derek. I think we had a conversation about this, and you mentioned you're sort of balancing. You're balancing. Your road and the trail at that point. I think you had told me at one point that you're like, hey, I was in the middle of like a marathon training block, if I'm not mistaken, or half, but something like that. And you're like, it was the perfect race, for the training that you have done. So if you would, man, tell us a little bit about some of the road running, like when you got into road running, some of the marathons you've done before you got into trail, because I'm looking at some of your times on the trails are blazing. Like that 4:02 at Blues Cruise is super fast time. So you had some wheels. So tell us about like a little bit like your background in the road scene before you got into trails.
So it obviously started short distance, and when I got into the 5Ks, I thought that was as far as I needed to go, and I was chasing age group awards. Wasn't fast enough to kind of get that top 3, but I could get my first in age group. And this is all local stuff. But as that grew, went to, doing like Broad Street. And at that point, Broad Street was 13,000 to 14,000 runners. First Broad Street, kind of just like hung with my friend John, and we were just talking, and I ran a 118. And I was like, I'm not okay with this. So the following year I come back, and I think I ran a 106.
Yeah, nice.
And then I kept pushing it, and eventually my fastest time there was just under an hour. So I still had that turnover for a sub-hour 10-miler. And then my halves, I think my fastest time was at PDR in 119. Couldn't break the 119. Although that day I think I was running on a
50K the day before.
Yeah.
Well, so I was running on adrenaline at this point because I had totaled my brand new car I had just bought 2 weeks prior. Driving down Route 3, I dodged a deer and ended up hitting a telephone pole and guardrail, completely totaling the car on the way down to PDR. And I called up my friend John Clark, and I said, I need a ride. So he comes and picks me up, and he's like, I'll take you home. I was like, no. I got a race to go run. He's like, well, who's going to drive you? I was like, there's like 18,000 people. I'll find somebody. And sure enough, I found Dan Dix, and he gave me a ride home. So I was running on adrenaline on that one, but the halves always escaped me for trying to beat that time. And then my fulls started with Philadelphia Marathon in '08, and it was 19 degrees for the whole day. And I finished 2:52:38, I think.
Nice.
I think I ran Philadelphia Marathon in 2008.
It was really cold. They were throwing down salt at the aid stations because of all the water was just turning to straight ice.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I might have ran. I'm trying to think of the year that I would have ran.
Oh,
the
what, you
years
want
that
to
I would have
compare
ran.
times that year?
No, I don't. That's not what I'm here for. But I
pull it out.
Feeling. I think that might have been my first. I think that might have been my first Philly marathon. Not sure about that, but
I'm
Nice.
going to look up on Athlinks to see if they're
because I graduated in 2005. It might have been 2007 was my first year. I don't know. Anyway, I can't remember that stuff.
I'm going to find it. I'll jump in.
But
Nice.
so 2008 was my first marathon.
Yeah.
And qualifying for Boston, so went to Boston and ran, I think it was 3 hours and like 17 seconds or something like that. I just missed that 3 hour mark, and I was like, not satisfied with that, but that still qualified me at that point to run Boston the following year, and I ran Boston for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So in 2009, and I ran Boston. I was just introduced to Alex somewhere around that time frame. So by that fall, October, I was running 50K at Blues Cruise.
Okay.
Trying to blend the two. So
Mhm.
still trying to run Boston's in these major races. I've run Chicago in 2010, which is where I got injured. I've run DC, Marine Corps, San Francisco. I ran with my dad as his
Wow.
first.
Wow.
Boston 4 times, Philly, some small ones. Stefan's race, what is that? Half sour, half out. So there's another double, Josh. So after we did that 50K at Laurel that first year, where I think you were, did you finish first
Yeah,
or second? Okay,
first.
finished fourth, I believe.
57.
And then the next day I went and ran the marathon over at Stefan's race, and I think we finished 5th overall. So,
That's when you
Wow.
knew the 100 was coming up then, I suppose.
well, no, like this, so that I didn't even know that wasn't on my radar. And in hindsight, I was well trained for 100 back then and didn't even know.
So you're
I've got a couple of
Yeah,
questions, kind of coming off of this, and so like getting into, back into the trail side of things here, would want to know, like, essentially, like, what's your ideal distance, because you've run lots of them, right? Like, so you've run the marathons, you've run the 5Ks, in the trail races, up to the very, very long distances here as well. So what's your kind of happy place? What's your sweet spot, and maybe some of your favorite races or trails to run here in the East Coast too?
I think I have a couple sweet spots. I do like the 50K because it's just the morning, and you have the rest of the day, and you're not destroyed. You can still go and enjoy it. You can hang with friends and hang out and still drive home. And it's like Laurel Highland 70. That the 50 miler still escapes me. It's smaller than the 70 miler, so you have to run it far faster. I just haven't nailed that one down yet.
What are the 50 milers that you've done?
Not many. Mountain Masochist twice. That was my first one. Both times I entered in, because it's at the end of the season. It's in November. So by then I ended up injured at both of them going into the race. So I knew that my result was not going to be, like, I blew out the leg T-band at mile 25 and then stiff legged hiked for the rest of the race in first year. And, what happened the second year, but it was almost the same exact time. And then I did Glacier Ridge Trail in 2011 in preparation for Laurel Highlands, and then the first 100 at Pine Pond. So it was the natural progression to go from, I think we both did half 50K in that year, Josh, 2011. You were training for Vermont?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we went to half 50K, Glacier Ridge 50 in April, Laurel Highlands 77 in June for both of us. And then we had hundreds in the fall, our first, his Vermont and me Pine to Palm. So the 70 to 100 is appealing to me because it's an adventure. Anything can happen. Especially, you might see the sunrise twice if you're lucky. But it's the 50 miler, not so much. 50K sweet because it's an all day or an all morning and then a party.
Yeah. All right.
Some of my favorites. What's that, Josh?
You mentioned something, with the 70 to 100 is that it's an adventure, right? And
yeah,
that rings true because, 50K, you're gonna run that. You may puke. I typically puke. The 50 mile, you're not gonna hit at nighttime. In the 100 mile, you are going to have something happen to you. Sam knows this at Grindstone. You're going to have something happen. And it's not how fast you are, because you can be the fastest guy out there. It's how you deal with that adversity and you recover. So I think that rings true from what you said with the 70 to 100 it gives you a real challenge, beyond that 100K distance.
There's a management you have to deal with that you can't plan for, because anything you plan for, you can throw that all out at mile 2. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it happens that early, I put it this way: when the stuff starts happening early in a 100 miler, at least when it's for me, my first 100 miler, I was definitely in full on panic mode for a while. But because you're like, well, my God, it's going to be 100 miles of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great. So, that most intriguing distance is that let's call it 100K to 100 mile distance, kind of depending on your terrain and things like that. But are there, favorite trails, favorite races? I'm very interested in trying to get more focus on the East Coast, and our trail systems and our athletes, networks of just, I guess what I'm trying to say is like our culture, our running culture, and what we have to offer that is different than other parts of the country. You've run all over the place, but clearly, I'm hoping you have a lot of love for your East Coast home here. What are some that stand out for you that are just like the best places to run, the best races to run?
Well, I think Laurel Highlands is on the top, if not the top. I mean, you got single track, mile markers in stone the whole entire way. You got lush ferns, you got rhododendron, you got the mountain laurel, you got a vista. And I like the point to point, so you're not doing a circle 3 times. It's you get to see something new, and that also makes it a little bit harder on logistics. I like those trails. Piner is another favorite because I think that is a great showcase of North Pennsylvania trails. You got the steep climbs, you got ranks, you got these downhills that seem to last forever that you can take off on. Very remote. Josh and I got to spend almost the whole entire 50K this year running together.
21 miles of it until until I couldn't do that anymore.
I think and that was your first Piner.
Yeah.
So you got to see it with fresh eyes. I've seen it in multiple different types of course makings. So how did you feel about how it looked?
Oh,
how it felt?
I'm signed up already next year for the 50K. Like, I love that course. It was a challenge. SOB Hill was a son of a bitch. It was insane. And that's gone until I actually break that course and it doesn't break me, I'll probably keep going back. And even I'll keep going back after that. I had always talked about like retiring up in Vermont and stuff like that, up into these mountains. That's a place I could look into. And actually I was searching around like, what are there places for sale in that area? I know you bought a place in Renovo, right there in the downtown, right in Heiner. and thinking about there are places in PA that are Vermont-esque or Virginia-esque that you can live in and not be too far from home. So it's a really fantastic area. And it's not a mountain, according to Lipsy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard this.
We got the history lesson, which is actually pretty cool.
Created. Yeah, it is kind of fun to run.
It's a plateau, right?
Yeah,
plateau with the river that cut it out.
With all the runs.
Yeah, and you can see that from we went up to the view the night before. I mean, I actually had never driven up there in my 3 years, 3 times up there. I'd never driven up the night. Well, I just never driven up. When you get to the top when you're running, you can see the view, but you're not focused and taking pictures up there.
Yeah,
so
you gotta go up there for sunset.
You do, and you know what? And we did, and you can sort of see how the river carved through the mountains, and everything is very level. It is really, really neat to see all the mountains. They're not jagged. They're not sort of undulating. They are one elevation with just sort of ravines. So anyway, it's a fantastic place. Heiner's a fantastic race. Yep.
So I think one of our other favorites is probably Hat, and I think Josh would agree. It's a good springtime race. They really mark the course well. It is very runnable, though. It's not like your Heiner or Laurel Highlands. So you got guys there that run close. I think the record now is 340 or 350 pitch times.
Just got set this year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, the newest course. I think the last maybe 6 or 7 years now.
Apparently that is going to be. I mean, they've changed the course several times. We had the RD on an episode as well, but I think that is going to be the last year of that course that they're going to be changing those start loops that we all love so much.
I think it was the first year, as Derek mentioned, in 2011, where I ran Hat, he ran Hat, and I was new to this ultra running thing. I had run Laurel Highlands. 2012, I think it was. I had run Laurel Highlands, and we ran in 2010? 2010, so it was 2011.
No, we ran in 2011. 2010, Alex ran. Yeah. We ran the 50K in 2010.
Well, I think there was I thought it was 2011, where I sprinted off the line on that starting loop. I think it was on a 50, and I was running 6-minute pace. And I was like, this is what you got to do. I dropped out at 26 miles, the last aid station.
Who were you chasing that year?
Gabriel Rodriguez, probably.
Yeah, I think that was 2011.
Yeah. It was painful. So I dropped out at the aid station. They're like, but it's only 5 miles away. I'm like, but it's only a mile up that hike right there. I'm going back up there.
Oh man. It's another good one. It's another good one.
But that's how you learn what your limit was.
Right. Yeah.
That's incredible.
You can't do what Sam does or used to do.
What's I don't sprint off the line.
No,
what you talking about?
You won Hat the 1 year, right?
Yeah.
I think on a tough course because of the weather. I think it was muddy or hot or one of those, and it was
it was pouring rain the whole time. Yeah.
It was a win.
Was that 2 years ago?
A couple of years, several
years. It was a few years ago,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. 2 years ago, it was so flooded that the water crossing went up to my chest.
Yeah, I don't think it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was just it was like a slip and slide. It was so muddy, the climbs. You're just especially the second lap. The second lap.
There's some video posted of the second loop of people trying to cross through that creek crossing.
Yeah,
and it's up to my chest, and they had to work out the course mid-race.
Yeah, I don't think I was there for that year. I think that might have been the year after I won. Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
And Sam, in our day, it was uphill both ways.
Yeah,
we didn't even have shoes.
Yeah.
Well, here, you know what? This is a great transition, right? Because this is another thing I wanted to get into, the sort of the back in our day and where things stand today. So, and we can kind of kick this around a little bit. Derek, Josh, weigh in here. But this is sort of a culture of trail running sort of question. Essentially, how have you noticed our East Coast trail culture changing over this 15-year period of time? What are the things we like about the way it's going, and what are the things that it's like, what, this was better. We need to get back to this.
I think it's hard to think not like, yes, I would always want to go back to certain things, but that's because those were some good old days, right?
And we were faster.
So like, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I did like Laurel Highlands was unknown. And it was paper registration. You had to mail in a check. And, a lot of people in this area never heard of it because it wasn't a Western States qualifier. As soon as it became a Western States qualifier, it blew up and it sells out. And people come from all over. So there is that benefit. It's now getting attention. People are doing this race that aren't just local or Pennsylvania-ish. So there is that benefit. But to kind of have that quiet trail again would be sweet.
Yeah,
interesting.
I think the other thing, I think Derek and I were talking at Heiner. You see in a lot of races. I mean, as technology has changed, right, hugely, but every single person wears a pack nowadays. They have to carry everything with them. They carry poles. They carry, and it's a 50K, and Derek and I are still, I think, Derek has sort of went to the dark side. He has that raid belt that he wears. But in the old days, it was you carried a bottle. You carried a bottle, you had some gels, you found a squirrel on the trail and you bit into its neck and ate it. Those sort of things. It was more old school like that. Nowadays, it's just everyone's packing everything up and that's great for technology. I think it's good for a lot of those more difficult races, like things, nowadays UTMB, you need to carry those things. Like they require you to carry those things. But I like the old days where where you just had a bottle and a couple gels, and you ran.
Yeah. I echo that. And I was thinking about it because when I was out at Western States and I met Gordy again, thinking about his first attempt, and in 1974, there was no sports handheld bottles. There was no Winkaway shirts. There was no Tailwind Scratch or Gatorade. He just had to go out and up himself on the trail, and he still went to 24 hours.
For 92 miles.
And it was in August. It wasn't in June. But without carrying anything, we're now, as I said, you see people wear packs for all distances. It could be sub 50K. Still see packs. It's almost like they need to. It'd be interesting if a race decided, hey, we're going to do two separate divisions. You got the old school division, 2 handhelds, or less. And then the other division is packs and more. So,
can they be soft flasks though, or do they need to be Aunt Jemima syrup bottles?
Syrup bottles. Yep, syrup bottles.
Well, so I saw the picture of from 2011 Laurel Highlands, and I was using 22-ounce water bottles that were insulated, so they were the size of 24, 25-ounce bottles. But they don't make handhelds like that, so I had to take a bandana and make a makeshift handheld for each one. So I'm carrying these 2 giant handhelds for those long 11-mile sections that you're exposed to the heat. So
interesting.
I can't believe I was carrying those, and now I like 12 ounces. That's enough on the hands. That's
funny. Yeah, that's interesting. So technology wise, I'm a handheld guy too. I like the lighter, is light and lean as you can be out there. I'm in your camp there. How about like the culture, like the trail culture? Obviously things have the popularity of the sport has just boomed. And I would say probably since COVID, it's grown more than it ever has, exponentially. But since like the 2000, since 9, 10, the early 2000 teens. Have you guys seen a change in the types of people, the trail culture changing? And, if you have, what changes have you seen?
I think it's more open to everybody now, where I'm not saying it wasn't open to everybody then, but it seemed like it was only the people who then decided to push their envelope a little bit further to be with handhelds only. So that limited so many other people from doing an ultra, or
sure
50K is attainable, but anything beyond that. And so I think nowadays you see a lot of that people just like, well, my friends are running an ultra, I can do this too. It'll be an all-day event. There's a party at every aid station every 5 minutes, and just go and cruise. It's like a Disney marathon, or one of the marathons.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
And I think there's if that's what they want to do, that's great. I just think that's where a lot of people are coming in, and more people are exposed to the trails. They want to get outside. And so I think this opportunity of technology meets people just wanting to go spend all day out in the woods has merged. And so I think we get a lot more of those.
Interesting.
The thing is, I really haven't noticed a change, even with the influx of participants, of people. At least, I mean, whether it's the same core group are still there, that you still have that old school mentality. Like, I go to these races and I see people that I haven't seen in a while, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like we haven't skipped a beat. So that's still there. Whether that means like within that trail community, there's certain cliques, right? Like, you still have your old school community, whereas there's another group there. But that new group, they still seem to, I think it's the whole thing of that trail community. It doesn't get enveloped in that new group that comes in. It expands out to them and it reaches them. And I think that's why people come to the trails, is to find something different aside from the roads and the cutthroatness of those road type races. And you come there and you have fun and you enjoy the wilderness. So I think even with the increased participation, I think that still lives.
I think there's a core amongst all of us, no matter if we're out there to spend all day and then enjoy just cruising around, or if we're trying to blaze down a trail as fast as possible with as little as much in their hands. And and obviously there's some young kids that are coming on now just destroying trail time. Overall, I think we all just love being outside. We hope to see some nature. We want to be away from pavement. We're kind of crunchy. We like to eat granola bars, and there's a lot of people who like to drink that beer afterward. I think everybody has the same core, and that's why we all get along. No matter, if you are new or old school.
Yeah, I've got to. So, a question I have about with, you mentioned the young guys and gals coming on the scene who are obliterating these course records and just racing really hard. I mean, to the extent in which Killian is saying we're running too hard, essentially, like, this is too fast. It's not fun because you can't even, there's no time to take anything in because it's too fast.
It's a 100-mile tempo run.
Essentially, and so our sport is certainly evolving in that way, in which it's getting hyper competitive, and where I'm sure it has always been competitive, but probably the margins were farther apart, so people didn't have to optimize for every last little thing. You could kind of overdo it or underdo it, I guess, with a couple of handhelds and this type of thing. And now you've got to make sure you're taking in 120 grams of carbohydrate an hour and 1,000 milligrams of sodium, as well as, 1,000 milliliters of fluids, as well as the potassium to balance those things out, and, and also not vomit. So, so you got to do all these things. So one of the things I noticed about your ultra sign up was there wasn't like a large list of DNFs at the bottom. You know, a lot of times, you know, myself included, there's going to be a few DNFs, you know, towards the bottom. And I was wondering if you have, you know, a philosophy towards, you know, finishing what you start, going, you know, what it means to like maybe honor the bib or these types of things. But it seems pretty evident that, you know, you finish your races.
Yeah, so I have one DNF from Eastern States the very first year that it happened in 2014. I ended up injured, and at mile 80, I couldn't walk across a flat road without collapsing. And it was the first time I had to be having that conversation with myself. You know, DNFing a race, you know, is it that I don't feel good, or is it that I'm injured, or, you know, am I just in a bad spot mentally, physically, and emotionally? And so that one I had to have that conversation was like, if I continue running the last 20 miles, I may not walk the next day or the next week, and therefore I cannot work and then provide income. So, but the rest of the times, it's like, yeah, there's plenty of times where I'm just not feeling good and just not feeling it. And what was the race? Down in Virginia, 100-mile. Cloud splitter.
Cloud splitter.
No, it's using
Cloud splitter. So I didn't train really well for this race whatsoever. It was to get me out of mental funk. And I showed up well untrained, and the weather kicked in. And at mile 50, I'm at walk. And that's all I got for the rest of the race is a walk. And so I walked it in for the last 50 miles.
Yeah, Adam Peterman did.
Yeah, I just kept saying that I signed up for this, and I've been in more pain mentally, emotionally, physically than I am right now. And if I quit right now, I'm not going to achieve what I wanted to achieve. So I might as well just keep going. I'm not injured. I'm not going to hurt myself. So just keep hiking away. And it was a long slog.
Those are words I love, because in 10 days I have Vermont 100 again. And it could be at 50 miles, I am walking and want to drop, and I will not, just based on what you said.
Well,
Yeah,
Derek, go ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say it's interesting you said that, and I noticed that too, Sam. You know, I didn't see any. Well, the one DNF, I guess, Eastern States. Do you find that you know, that particular race was, you were using that as a springboard, maybe a race to sort of rejuvenate, you know, like for whatever reason, right, that point in your life, you used that as a springboard, and that was maybe one of your main objectives for the race, was finish the race, you know, test yourself mentally. Do you find that you have different objectives, for lack of a better term, for each race you're running?
I don't even think that far ahead. I don't believe.
Okay.
When I went to go run Cloud Splitter, the whole goal was to get me. I wasn't running for over a year, and I was in a funk and wanted to get myself up. And Cloud Splitter didn't have any prerequisite, and I was like, well, it's tough, and I want to go to UTMB, so that's on the list. I can drive there and do it. So
Nice.
when things got rough, I was like, well, this is part of the UTMB equation. I have to keep going.
Nice.
I'm not injured. It sucks. Worst pain before. I'll just keep going. Thankfully, I was walking with a friend, and so we walked on nearly 50 miles together.
Wow.
So not that I pre-planned walking. I think I had a really solid first 50-mile race, and I wasn't pre-planning having some sort of motto or something to say, hey, I need to get through this for that race.
Yeah, right.
That's how the race unfolded.
Yeah.
And at Eastern States, I literally swore I'd never do that race again. Even the next day, I said, never going to do that race again. I ended up getting majorly injured at the end of that year, threw my back out for over a month, and still hated that race the following year. So I barely ran at all in 2015. Beginning of 2016, January 1st, the registration opens up in Eastern States, and I emailed the race director and said, I want to come back and finish my business. I have zero prerequisite, and thankfully he let me in. And so I was going there mindset that I'm going to finish, and that was the hot year with the 99 degrees and tornado and hail, and ended up feeling very strong throughout the race and finished. But it's those type of things where my objective, I guess, is bigger than the pain that I'm going through. So I'm also like, so what if I suffer? Me personally, now that I have a son who's now 11, I would rather him see me suffer at a race and still finish versus thinking that every single race that I finish is a breeze.
So, Sam, coming to this, I thought of one thing, a couple things. I want to give you a few just quick, hard-hitting questions, right?
Okay, just to Derek?
For Derek. Quick response. So not much thought, what first comes into your head. So nutrition of choice.
It was scratch.
High carb or regular?
Regular, but it didn't go well for Western. So.
Okay.
Biggest surprise in the sport?
Parents. Let me think about that one.
Bucket list race, I think we know.
UTMB right now.
Yeah. What's with all the UPS drivers and being runners?
There's only two.
There's three.
I drove for UPS as well.
Did you?
Yeah.
You, Nico, and Daryl Brown.
Daryl doesn't work for UPS.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, you may know Doreen Kubre, but she's a marathon runner.
Oh, she does too?
Yeah, she works in my building.
All right. Biggest rival?
Now or then?
There's a correct answer here.
Okay. Then I always wanted to beat Alex Barth.
Yeah, me too.
And I never did. But it get very competitive between him and I. So it was never competitive between Alex and I. It was just to beat him. It was competitive between Josh and I. Now, I think I'm at this stage where I'm not really competing at that level.
It's yourself, right?
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah. I'd like to get back where, you and I do show up at Heiner one day and
duke it out.
Game on.
Well, I'm 0 for 2 this year, if that's anything. So we'll see. I don't know what else we have in store this year. JFK, come on, let's do it.
Oh, too much flat. Too much flat.
You did it once? You did JFK once?
Yeah.
He was 726. So actually, I think what was I saying? Like 740 something, where I didn't eat anything like normal.
I don't know. I don't keep track of other people's times.
No, I did research.
I don't know. I don't know what your time was at. I don't even know what your time was at Hat this year, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was 405 and you were 407 or something like that, right?
There you go.
You know what's funny though? I wanted to bring this up real quick. Derek, we like I said, we first met. I think we first ran together. It must have been 2017 or 2018. And as we're going through all these races, I've realized how many races I've actually run with you. I was like, yeah, I mean, like I've known Derek for a while. I don't know. I've probably raced with you like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And then I think just doing quick math, it's got to be like at least 6, 7, 8 or more times. Like it's been a ton of times, over the past like however many years. So it's like, it's, what I'm trying to say is it's just funny. Like, you see your ultra sign up and there's a ton on there, but there's a ton that's not on there. Like all the Pretzel City races, all like the local like 10Ks that, I don't know you're going to be there, right? I know we've talked before a couple races in the past, but like, oh, Derek's here, and I think like sort of like, intertwining that back in with the community. I think that's just one of the cool things about being in the sport, as it, at least from what I've noticed, is it continues to grow, but like Josh and Derek, you guys both said this, like there's those new young, the new young blood, like in the sport, they're like-minded, even though they're like, could be 15, 20 years younger. You can get along with them and mesh with them pretty instantaneously. So it's just cool, building these relationships and showing up at any local race and knowing, at least I can speak for us four, it would be weird if you didn't know like 10 people, so as the community grows, it's just like almost like the more the merrier at this point, because everybody seems to be just good people for the most part. So
so I think even with the 15 to 20 years younger, you can also do 50 to 20 years older.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same core. And, whether the older are new or they've been here for longer than we have. But everybody's has the same core principles when they come into the trail, whether it's a short distance or an ultra.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure we've all seen Unbreakable, but the interviews with, Jeff Rose's running buddies up in Alaska, and he's talking about the people that he looks up to, being these guys.
The geezers.
Yeah, the geezers. Yeah, the geezers. Running, and they love, they're just in awe of Jeff, and he's in awe of them. Just that. And now we're in awe of Jeff, with what he did. So there's, this multi-generational and, just across the years kind of look at things. I think we've given it enough time. I think we can talk about Western States now. Yeah, we brought up Jeff Rose. We can talk about Western States. Seemingly, it probably. How many tickets did you have to get into this race? 2 tickets. That's it.
2. Wow. That's it.
Because it seemed like you've been running for a while to get into Western States. You earned those 2 tickets, though. Whether you were running Western States races or not.
So back in like 2011, 12 era, when Josh and I were first getting into the long distance, that's when I heard about Western States or got interested in Western States and started putting in qualifiers. But between the injury in 2014 to 15, and then most recently the depression in 2020, I was done. I was like, I'm not even interested in running anymore. To come back, started putting races, and those Canadians 100 was a qualifier, and Laurel Highlands was a qualifier. So I had those 2 tickets over the last 2 years, and had no plans on going. Didn't think it was going to happen.
You maybe shouldn't have told us that. You should have said like 38 tickets, or.
Then you got picked number 6 in the lottery.
Well,
I did.
You deserved to be there for sure. So tell us about this Western States journey. You don't race on the West Coast a lot. I think you've raced in Oregon a couple of times, and then like you said, Canyons was one of your qualifiers. So take us through a little bit about your journey out there, like what the experience was like.
Well, so I ran Canyons as a qualifier for UTMB, and I was thankful that it was on some of the Western States course, but it wouldn't have been on a bucket list of mine to do that race unless I was trying to go to UTMB. So I was happy to have some of that background area knowledge of Western States. We had much different weather with heavy rain throughout the course versus the 100-degree temperatures in the canyons this year. But my journey started on that Saturday when I got selected, and I was working and immediately got texted by who became my crew. They all told me I got in, and my 2020 plans changed because I was going to register for UTMB. By the time I got home that night, Evan had already booked the Airbnb. Mariana and Dan and Evan have already said, we're going to be crew and base. And so my crew, Pacers, Airbnb was also, and all I did was work that day. So I decided that my equation for just throwing mud up against the wall the last 2 100s to work myself out of mental funk was not going to work out for this race. I struggled with trying to create a plan that would work for me and being a single dad. So I hired my coach from 2011, Ian Torrance, again.
Okay. Oh, nice.
And I was able to create a plan that would almost ran zero because I didn't have much in training block of last quarter of last year. And being a UPS driver is not the easiest to train through Black Friday through Christmas. So I didn't have much in January. Started training again and built in a solid block of just consistency, running a few races leading to states. Seemed like it was more about consistency this time around than in 2011, when it was more of the blend of speed and distance. So getting over to states, I really didn't have to do much logistically for my crew. Every single one of those members was there last year because Mary ran states last year with Evan and Julie and Dan being all part of the crew. So now I have their entire crew as my crew. So they already knew all the ins and outs. So there was a lot off of my shoulders for all that crew logistics. They also were very welcoming to take my son. So my son came with, and so he was part of the group and got to see me across the finish line, which was excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
But race weekend was, I thought it would be so much time, but it goes by way too fast. You go to the expo to get your stuff, and you blink, and it's hours later.
So when did you get out there?
Thursday morning.
Thursday before the race.
Yeah, Thursday. Had some issues. Finally got into Forest Hill around 2 o'clock, and we got settled in at the Airbnb in Forest Hill. So then Friday morning, we went to the expo, and then took the gondola up to Osage, so my son could see that and be part of that adventure with the crew.
Oh, wow.
And as we were in line there, Western States announced on Instagram that they were going to open up free for anybody who wants to go up. They were going to open up the gondola to the top the next day. So it tripled in the amount of people that were up there from the previous year.
For at the top of the escarpment.
Yeah, escarpment, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I could hear the winners going through, or the leaders going through, and I was at like 2.4 miles, and you could just hear them off in the distance, just screaming.
That's awesome.
It was.
That was so cool to see. That was such a cool scene. It looked like Zagama or something.
Yeah,
like going up the. Yeah, that was so cool to see.
I didn't realize how tight it was going to be. I mean, if I just stuck out my elbows, I would hit people on both sides. It was crazy. It was so much energy.
Wow.
I'm surprised I saw my son, who was the first person I recognized, because there's just so many people. When I see videos back, I was like, oh, there's somebody with an inflatable dinosaur right next to you. Like, I didn't see this stuff. Just so much was going on.
Yeah.
But it was a cold morning, and I knew it was just going to get hotter, but I wore a jacket and gloves going up there. And that first 31 miles or so was much harder than I anticipated. And I think with the fast times that this race can yield, I thought it was going to be an easier course. To me, it was a huge surprise. I didn't give it enough credit going into this race. And I'm not one for logistics. I don't like to look up and say, here's the climbs. I don't like to know that stuff. I just need to know when the race started, where I got dropped off, and who was going to pick me up at the finish. And that's it. I'll figure everything else out between. So,
for someone coming from the East Coast, what did you find the most challenging about those first 31 miles? Because, we pride ourselves in being great technical trail runners and things like that. So what was it about that high country that was really challenging for you?
Well, I think that was it, was the elevation. Pine to Palm runs at elevation. That was my first 100, but you go up and immediately start coming back down. So you're never hanging out there. This one, you're hanging out for quite a while. And even though the heat's not started quite yet, you are exposed to the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it immediately started messing with my nutrition, and that started messing with my effort and heart rate and overall feeling. So the first 31 was the roughest out of the race.
Wow.
I did sauna training for the heat, and I think that had helped, but I think that elevation was a little bit of a surprise to me. I could tell my breathing was off. Had to back off pace just a tad. want my heart rate skyrocketing too bad. But as far as technical trails, I didn't find that Western States was anything like our Heiner or, there was rocks and stuff, but nothing that, that you really had to dodge and watch your ankles with or anything. You could run over all of it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think the terrain changed. Like in the high country, you have more of a more rocky terrain, but it's nothing like you have out here.
Yeah.
And then once you get to like Robinson Flat and you're heading into the canyons, it's fairly smooth trail.
The dust is what gets.
Yeah, if it's dry, yeah.
Yeah. The views up at the high country were my favorite visually of the course, but coming down into midway of the race, that's when I started feeling more comfortable. But nothing in the way. Like the rocks are different. It's not like Boulder Beast, World's End. You can step on the rocks and not worry about twisting an ankle. But here you got to watch every single step you take because you might roll a good one and you're just out of the race.
Yeah.
So Derek, it was they say it was a hot year. How were the canyons? I mean, here we have heat, we have the humidity. There you don't necessarily have the humidity. So how did you feel about the heat of the canyons? What do you think they reached, 100, 110? And was it oppressive to you, or did you go?
The only time I really felt it was going up to Devil's Thumb. Do you remember going up that?
Long climb, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
But so you're exposed to the sun. It's at a grade where you have to hike.
Yeah.
You can't really put in much effort to get faster. So you're not getting out of the sun or the heat quicker. And that's when I felt it. I got up to the aid station. I got my ice, got everything, and I went to turn around, and I was lightheaded, and I was like, I better sit. So it was the only time I sat besides changing my shoes. That's the time I felt it. I don't know how hot it got. I was told it was going to get up to 100, but I don't know what the heat index was there. Thankfully, there was so much ice on course. Even leaving Devil's Thumb, I had so much ice in my sleeves, my bandana, and my hat. My hands turned ghost white and numb. I couldn't even feel.
Wow.
It's about a mile or 2 miles later, and then I could start thawing out. But
Yeah.
I knew it was 100 degrees out.
Encino, man.
But but I was still frozen.
Wow. So Derek, you changed your shoes. Was it once, more than once, and then just once?
Just once at 79 at Green Gate after the river.
And what shoes? Like what did your shoe choice look like? What did the gear choice look like?
This is
for the
vintage
race?
Chris right here. Wants to know what gear you were in.
I'm not a gear guy, but I want to know. I specifically want to know the shoes.
Solomon
So
Sense
I made a day before decision to change my shoes to something I haven't worn at all this year, to Zero Scramblers. I've been having mobility issues in my ankle since right before Heiner. I think Heiner just exposed it. And anytime I wore the Solomons, it seemed to have pinched the mobility, and so I was getting this pain. But when I wore the Scramblers, I wasn't getting it. So the downside is that there's no cushion to them. So I figure that this means taking those downhills a little bit easier.
So, I'm not sure if a lot of people are familiar with Zero shoes. These are, like you might expect, it's a zero drop shoe, right?
Yes.
And it's also, as you've also alluded to, a zero cushion shoe.
Yes.
And so I've heard, I know some people that run in these from time to time, usually short distances. Usually, kind of, your recovery runs and things like that, trying to work on, a little bit of ankle mobility and things like that. So how long did you have those on?
First pair was to 79 after I crossed the river crossing, and then threw on a brand new pair with brand new socks.
Same thing.
From 79 to the finish. Yep, same thing.
Same thing. Wow. Wow.
And they felt great.
So, yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, you adjust your stride for the shoe. You adjust, how you're going to run. You're not going to be slamming your foot down in those shoes. I could see how it would work. And if it worked for you, it worked for you. I would be terrified to do that myself.
I don't know if I just took it easy or if the shoes helped take it easy down the downhills, but it was nice to have downhill legs the last 20 miles. So I was able to push downhill.
Yeah.
And felt comfortable. Like my quads were there. My feet felt fine. So I was able to push, which is, I did not have much in the way of uphill legs at that point. But I was able to speed hike. But when it came to the downhills, I was able to push, which was nice. Having that at the finish, we were able to catch 21 people in the last 20 miles.
Wow.
With all the downhill.
So you closed.
Wow.
Yeah. So were you really searching for that 24-hour mark, or was that just happened to be where you ended up?
My initial goal, without knowing really about Western States course or being up there, it was kind of like here's what I'm going to shoot for this, and that was between 12 and 24 hours. So I really wanted the sub 24-hour buckle. I knew I was getting close. And then got to mile 91. I forget what that aid station's called. Scott Jurek was there.
Pointed Rocks, that one.
Is that what it is? No, Pointed Rock is 94.
Okay.
Right? The Pacer Exchange. So this is one before that.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember.
So Scott, it's the one done by Road Valley. And Scott Jurek was there. And as soon as I walked in, he comes over to me, watch. He's like, you got an hour and 50 minutes to make it to 9 miles. You got 2 climbs. Highly unlikely you're going to make it unless you push. And I was like, all right, let's go. So my pacer, he's the closer to the finish line we got, it felt like the faster I was getting.
Well, you got very close. I mean, in my book, that's a 24-hour finish, especially since you had was like 100. It's basically 102 miles, right? I mean,
no,
I think they label it as 100.2.
100.2.
But the multiple times I spent in the woods trying to find trees that they're not Pennsylvania leaf trees, unfortunately. So I spent too much time that way, which would have helped, but you can't plan for that stuff.
Yeah.
But we tried. When I picked up Evan at Pointed Rocks at mile 96, I yelled ahead before we went through the aid station, and I just ran through the aid station, and he came with.
Nice.
And we went downhill, and I don't remember if we passed anybody in that last 6 miles. I just remember just trying to keep on pushing forward. If I could run, let's keep running. And the uphill going up to 99, that was a struggle. And then you have that little quarter mile. Once you get up to that point, you have a little quarter mile of road that's still uphill.
That Roby Point climb.
You got like a false plateau, and man, that's killer at that point. But as soon as we got up to that crest, we sent it. We just went, and
awesome.
Even the girl who was doing the live, she was carrying the camera. She's like, man, I'm struggling to keep up.
Wow,
that's gotta feel good.
Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm like, are we gonna make it? And we hit the track. I took a glimpse of my watch, and I was like, nah. But we gave it the best shot we got.
Yeah.
And, it was cool finishing with everybody, and I was the first over 24-hour finisher. So
yeah, that's neat. So Derek, for maybe some feedback and some advice here, like a week and a half out, for those East Coasters who are lucky enough to, to get in through the lottery and sort of start their adventure about 6 months out. Who also may not get the opportunity to see the trail or understand the trails and the terrain and the heat and just sort of the logistics of not just the race, maybe the weekend in total. What advice would you have for East Coasters who are sort of going at it blind for to a degree?
I definitely think specifically for Western States, utilizing areas like Port Clinton, if you've ever run up there, Hamburg Reservoir, they got these nice long climbs. Some of those road sections on the Port Clinton side are exposed to sun. So go up there midday to do those long hills, because there is never ending downhills in States. And with the exposure, now unfortunately we didn't have much heat to train in, so to kind of supplement that, do some sauna training or wear extra clothes while you run, like a rain jacket, so it doesn't breathe very well, lightweight rain jacket. And I think that those hill repeats or long hills really helped me going into this one. The sauna sessions, I didn't get as much as I'd like, but I think that did help. And being a UPS driver in the heat, final 10 days before leaving, it got up to 128 in the back of the truck.
Yeah, I actually think UPS delivery drivers are yourself included this, you're cheating a little bit, because I think that's some extra training in there.
Yeah,
I was doing driving for UPS when I ran my marathon PR, and I think that was mainly because I was just getting extra training, just running on and off the truck.
Yeah.
In boots, come on.
Yeah.
Hard to.
I would add another thing is if you're lucky enough to get into Western States, I mean, most people have been trying at it for a long time. Really take advantage, if you can financially and with work, of the training runs over Memorial Day weekend.
I'd second that. I didn't go this year, but had some friends go.
Yeah.
And Diane went. And
it's
just seeing feedback from them was crazy.
It's fun. They have these. It's not just the training runs. They have other sessions throughout the night, like movies and stuff like that. We watched the gyms battle it out in the Battle of the Sun. I forget what it was called back in like the 80s. They had a movie. Jim King.
Jim Howard.
Yeah.
Jim Howard. Yeah.
And you get to enjoy the trail, take notes, and just meet people, and you get to enjoy it during the race, but you have a different end goal in mind. There, it's just actually get the chance to enjoy it, because when race time comes, you're going to be racing against that clock. So just that would be my advice: is go out and do that if you can.
Yeah. So I mean, starting to kind of close things up here a little bit. Derek, with your Western States experience there, where does this, in the pantheon of your trail running experience over the past 15 years, where does Western States stand? Is it at the very top? Is it just another trail race? Where is it?
I don't know if I'd put it at the top, but it's close. I think Laurel Highlands 77, and I didn't even know what I was doing, because this was our first time doing something of that distance, both Josh and I. But trying to blend the speed and that distance, and I don't remember really thinking about nutrition back then, as much as I do now. So it's different, to be able to fly over that course then, that's pretty high. This one, I feel like I was more in tune with every single thing that I had to manage. So to be able to spend 24 hours managing those things, to have a very consistent run, to be able to push the last 20 miles, that's pretty awesome. It may not have been my fastest, but I didn't ever bonk. I never hit a major low, and was able to figure out the solutions of nutrition as they failed, and to keep adding calories in, to keep going through that heat. I'm very proud of that. But I don't know how I'd rate the two, because they're two totally different. They're not the same. They're two totally different efforts.
Well, one of the things I'm hearing is that you earned this experience, because you've got all of your racing history, all of your running history that got you to Western States, and like you said, the problem solving, being able to work through nutrition lows, where a lot of people that don't have your racing history would go into that situation, and Western States could be out the window, because it's like, hey, my stomach's gone, like I'm done,
Yeah.
and not be able to say, hey, you know what, I just need to make this change because of the changes you've had to go through for years and years. So it sounds like you really earned that day.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience leading up to this point.
Yeah, so cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, Derek, amazing run, man. That was so happy for you to hear that when heard your I didn't hear, live your name announced, but I think Josh, you may have texted our group, and shortly after, I think maybe Nico had texted, and so awesome to hear that you got in, and like Sam said, you definitely earned it through your through your sort of time and just time in the sport. The advice that you've given other runners, younger runners, like coming up in the sport, like myself, and I think you've earned it. You put your time in, and very well deserved. I know you just missed that 24-hour mark, but really cool to hear that you turned it on with 20 to go at Western States. That's a cool story, and to take something like that out of that experience and to get to spend it with your son out there is like that's amazing. So definitely happy for you, and looking forward to seeing what you continue to do here. You're always mixing it up out there, and I have no doubt that you'll be doing it for a long time to come.
Yeah, what's next, Derek?
Eastern States, and we'll see how that goes and figure out that afterwards. But trying to do now I've done Eastern States twice. But I just had this stupid thought that doing both states one season would be a unique challenge. I've never done 2 100s 6 weeks apart, so.
True.
What's your PR at Eastern?
26:30, I think.
And do you think a 24 is in play or no?
No.
No, not for you at this time.
No, I think maybe 25 and a half. We'll see. I'm not going to go there with a time goal. Just going to go there to finish.
Yeah, well, it's hard because you don't know. I mean, all these races are so conditions dependent.
Yeah.
And day dependent for what day you're having, things like that. They say take what the day gives you, right?
Yes.
All right, so guys, we're starting to wrap up here a little bit and get into anybody's got burning desires that they need to share here. We can get those out there. Derek's got Eastern States training that he's got to get into here shortly. Joshua's got Vermont 100 training to finish up here over the next week, and Chris, you got to get your ass healthy.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully that's coming sooner than later. Sam, you got some training coming up yourself.
Yeah,
so I think everybody's.
It's all going good for me.
Yeah,
ready to start amping up and get ready for Grindstone. So
very nice.
I'll hopefully be joining Derek at UTMB next year. We'll see.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's the idea. That's on my bucket list as well. Clearly, Western is on my bucket list. Is Hard Rock on yours?
Maybe. I'd like to test some Colorado races before Hard Rock.
Okay.
See how that fares.
Not just go all in on the hardest one from the get-go. Yeah. It's probably a dumb idea on my own part, but hey, you got to start trying to get in and then see what happens, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this is a good place to, as they say, put a bow on it, right? And let everybody go to bed. Derek, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your experiences over the past 15 years, as well as at Western States, and just also thanks for being Josh's competitor for years and years and years, and for kicking his ass at Laurel Highlands one time, and and for telling Chris how to run downhills. I'm hoping to get that some of that wisdom myself. I gotta get some of this as well. So thank you very, very much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you, Derek.
It's been a pleasure, Derek.
Good talking to you guys.
Yeah. And, for all of us here in the Bear Right Trail community, thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe or like or follow or do all these types of things that everybody tells you to do. And, send us a comment, send us some ideas. We'd love to hear them. And happy trails.
Take care.